During a recent rally in Sioux City, Iowa, Donald Trump's increasing derangement and rapid cognitive decline were on full display, so we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. All right, folks, I have several clips to play, but before I do want to begin with a disclaimer. I know many of you don't want to see Donald Trump, don't want to hear from Donald Trump, don't want to talk about Donald Trump, and I get it. I'm with you. But whether we like it or not, we all have to appreciate the legitimate threat that this man poses to the United States because it's very real, okay? He is the former president of the United States. He is the leader of the Republican Party. He is the front runner for the Republican Party's presidential nomination by double digits. And again, I hate to say it, but current polling has him very competitive with President Biden. Many polls actually have him ahead of President Biden. So the threat he poses is very real. We have to keep our eye on him. We have to talk about him. We have to analyze him. We have to dissect him in the hopes that we can find the right combination of words to persuade people not to support this man. So, with that said, I have several clips to play. The first few are about Donald Trump's rapidly increasing cognitive decline, and I just want you to think of this, okay? As we watch these clips and unpack them together, imagine if Joe Biden said things like this and how the media, not just right-wing media, but mainstream media would react.
Viktor Orban, did anybody ever hear of Viktor Orban? He's the head of Hungary. Hungary fronts on both Ukraine and Russia.
It doesn't. Now, I will give Donald Trump credit here because last week he was saying that Viktor Orban was the prime minister of Turkey, so he got the country and the prime minister right, but Hungary and Russia do not border each other. They're separated by about 5,300 kilometers, not even close at all. Now, this gaffe was a bit more local, but again, imagine if Joe Biden said something like this, how the media would react.
And a very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. And thank you. So Sioux City.
Okay, so if you didn't catch that, he called Sioux City, Iowa, Sioux Falls, which is a city in South Dakota, separated by, again, about an hour. That's why he was booed briefly. He's like, let me talk about a city that we're doing very well in, Sioux Falls, and then the people of Sioux City are booing him because it's a different city in a different state. And it got so bad that a guy had to come up on stage and kind of yank him off stage with a vaudeville cane and like, Mr. President, you're talking about a different state, a different city. And then Trump just tried to like correct it as though nothing happened. Now, these next clips are about Trump's derangement, okay? Now, I could see President Biden making gaffes like Donald Trump, but imagine President Biden ever saying something so deranged as what you're about to hear.
So with all those losers out there that say, Trump never got the... You remember I used to say Mexico will pay for the peace of the wall. I'll say, what's going to happen with their fight? I say the wall gets higher. We all had a lot of fun, but I said Mexico will pay for a piece of the wall. Well, there was no legal instrument to do that.
So Donald Trump just called everybody who's criticizing him for failing to live to his promise about, I'm going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it, which isn't something he just said once or twice. It was a major campaign promise, certainly of the 2016 election, but arguably the 2020 election as well. He repeated it dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times. And then he's calling people who believed him losers. Again, I've mentioned this in previous videos. Nobody has more contempt for the American people, and I would argue including his own supporters, than Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not love his supporters. Donald Trump does not respect his supporters. Donald Trump has profound contempt for his MAGA supporters. He looks at them as cannon fodder. He looks at them as, tools to be used and discarded. He has no respect for them whatsoever. He calls you all losers if you believed his campaign promise. Imagine if Joe Biden ever said anything like that about any American, not just Democrats or his base, but even Republicans. Imagine if Joe Biden, a Democrat, called, Donald Trump supporters, Republicans, losers, how the media would react. But again, he gives the game away. He just lied. There's no legal instrument for Donald Trump to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it. He just flat out lied to get your vote. So with that in mind, here's another clip.
I'm going to protect you any longer. And I remember the head of a country stood up and said, does that mean that if Russia attacks my country, you will not be there? That's right. That's what it means. I will not protect you. And the money came.
So there, Donald Trump is openly admitting that he has no intention of trying to protect other countries from Russia. Now, I understand that there is an isolationist sentiment, an increasing isolationist sentiment among the new iteration of the Republican Party, and certainly we should be careful about when, where, and how we involve ourselves with foreign entanglements. But just this blanket blank check to Vladimir Putin, hey, Vladimir Putin, if you want to invade another country or interfere with another country or attack another country, the United States under Donald Trump is going to stay out of it. We're not going to protect that country. We're not going to help that country out. That's a signal that emboldens authoritarian leaders like Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and others to do what they want to do, because Trump's saying, hey, go ahead, do whatever you want. I'm not going to interfere. Again, just profoundly deranged. Now, with that in mind, here's the last clip I want to play.
But they brought our country to a new level, but that allows, think of this, that allows us to do it to Biden when he gets out, and that would be very easy.
So that one, in terms of domestic politics, is probably the biggest one. Here's the reason I wanted to point it out. Donald Trump, Republicans, Trump supporters have been whining and complaining about a weaponized justice system. And what they mean is they don't want Trump supporters, or Republicans to ever be held accountable for their crimes. That's it. If you hold a person accountable and that person happens to be a Trump supporter or Republican or Trump supporting or Donald Trump himself, then you're weaponizing the Justice Department. It is a weaponization of the Justice Department to ever hold anybody who is not a Democrat accountable for their crimes. If you don't want to weaponize the Justice Department, you just let Republicans, Trump supporters, and Trump just do whatever they want whenever they want. But he's openly saying, and this isn't the first time, it bears repeating, Donald Trump is saying once again that if he gets back into power, he's going to deliberately weaponize the Justice Department against people he doesn't like. The hypocrisy is staggering. But again, they don't care, right? They're not beholden to consistent standards. This will get no attention whatsoever from right-wing media, both in the mainstream media and the alternate media. It will get very little attention from the mainstream media, from the New York Times and CNN, and MSNBC will probably do a good job, but Reuters and the Associated Press. This is not normal. This is absolutely not normal. And I would bet, again, that if President Biden were somebody other than what he is, were to ever say anything like that, just one time, the media would be apoplectic, and rightly so. Because when powerful people who either were president or are trying to be president say things like that, it's eminently disqualifying. And again, it's not the first time. When Donald Trump was president in 2020, he said it, we played the clip time and time again. It's just evergreen. It's the clip that keeps on giving. He told Maria Bartiromo, he publicly urged on Fox News' Maria Bartiromo show that Bill Barr, his then Attorney General, should indict Joe Biden, who was then his political rival. Donald Trump has always sought to weaponize the Justice Department against people he doesn't like. He campaigned on it in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. There were reports that he tried to push the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate the Clintons and the Obamas and other people that he didn't like. He called on the Justice Department to investigate the Bidens. He tried to pressure foreign allies like Ukraine to investigate Biden. And now he's publicly saying he'll do it again. He's getting bolder and bolder. Donald Trump and the Republican Party are eager, desperate to weaponize the Justice Department once again. They tried to do it before. They were successful somewhat before. They're eager to do it again. There is no equivalence between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Any equivalence you want to draw would be, by definition, a false equivalence. The Justice Department under President Biden has bent over backwards to accommodate this man, bent over backwards with the classified documents, slow-walking the investigation, which would eventually become the special counsel prosecution of Donald Trump. We've talked about it in previous videos. Donald Trump wants to do the exact opposite. He wants to even manufacture a pretext or a reason to go after not just Biden, probably not just the Clintons again, but anybody who disagrees with him. This is absolutely deranged, and he's not going to stop talking about it, which means we're probably not going to stop talking about it either. But just as a reminder, everything in these clips, imagine how the media would react if Joe Biden said anything like that. And if you have any conservative friends or family members, or if you yourself are conservative and you're watching this, ask yourself that question. How would you feel if a Democrat said or did anything like what Trump said or did in the clips I just showed you? Let me know what you think in the comments.